I now come on to the last, but possibly one of the most important speakers of this panel, Lieutenant General Satish Dua. General Dua is currently posted in Army headquarters, and he is the Chief of Integrated Defence Staff to the Chairman Chiefs of Staff Committee. The integrated staff is responsible for synergizing the capability of all the three services. But he's not talking to us in that capacity. He's talking to us in the capacity of understanding what actually happened. In 2014, you had floods in Jammu and Kashmir. The army and central government help was tremendous, consequent to which there was a tremendous amount of goodwill for both Delhi and the army. Prime Minister Modi had also just come into power, and there was tremendous hope amongst the Kashmiris that we would find a way forward. So what went wrong in 2015 and 16 to reach today's date? Now, General Satish Dua was GOC 15 Corps commanding Kashmir during that period. So he left Kashmir only in November last year and went to Delhi. So he is the latest and would give you what is the current situation there and what in his view needs to be done. Over to him.
Thank you, Chair. My distinguished fellow panelists, General Roy Chaudhary, former Army Chief, General Praveen Bakshi, Army Commander, Eastern Command, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure, an honor for me to be here amongst you all, talking on the topic. As a serving soldier, I'm going to restrict myself to a correlation between the cycle of violence, the peace, the strategic shifts that the other side has made, and our responses before I come to a way forward. The topic given to me is proxy war, the local unrest, the current local unrest, and the way forward. To draw a correlation between the cycle of violence and peace, absence of violence does not necessarily lead to peace in Kashmir. It is how we utilize this time window or this window of peace that will determine how much peace will prevail. During those better times, have we done enough? Have we moved towards ameliorating the situation? I'll come to that in a bit. But before that, during this 3 decades of violence, the terrorists, the separatists, and the others, aided and abetted by Pakistan, they have made strategic shifts, or they've changed their strategy every time we got on top of the situation. And we were forced to be reactive. And often our responses were merely tactical. For instance, when the violence broke out in the late 80s, we got the situation under control by mid-90s, by 96, 97, by deployment of additional forces, by raising RR battalions. Rashtriya Rifles was raised then. They changed their strategy and they started infiltration. They started infiltrating from south of Pir Panjal. Now, south of Pir Panjal, as was brought out earlier, is not Kashmir, but J&K, yes. Then, once again, we effected another surge. More Rashtriya Rifles were raised, and the situation was brought under control. In 2003, the LC fence was erected. There's a fence all along the line of control to stop infiltration. Now, that was a game changer. Infiltration, exfiltration dropped considerably. When this happened, they made another change in their strategy and fashioned stone pelting as a form of protest, because stone pelting has more acceptance in international fora as an unarmed protest. So we saw in years 2008, 9 and 10, every summer there was a lot of violent stone pelting by mobs out on the streets, which has nothing to do with terrorist violence. With these kind of shifts in their strategy, we've always been reactive. Coming now to the point, have we done enough? Whenever we've had better time windows, say between 2003 and 2008, then between 2012 and 2015, polity cannot just outsource it to the army. The state is quite often content to let the army, the police, the CRPFs engage with the youth. The state must also get involved in skill development, education, economic empowerment, sports activities, healthcare, etc. Now enters another angle, social media. In the beginning of this decade, the world saw the power of social media in the Jasmine Revolution in Tunisia, in the Arab Spring, and we saw very skillful use of social media in Kashmir. They use social media and media to mobilize the youth, to radicalize the local population in the name of religion, and to create youth icons like Burhan Wani. Who was Burhan Wani? He was killed in an encounter in July last year. He was just a creation of media, the social media. His successor, who was killed a few days ago, was again a creation of social media as a youth icon. They were no great fighters or terrorists. They hardly put up a fight. But such is the power of social media. And in this field of using the power of social media, we are not even reactive. The state has to put out a counter narrative, which is sadly missing. In 2015, the number of terrorists in Kashmir was at an all-time low, under 200. And so, what did the other side do? Another shift in their strategy. They employed all these three instruments or tools together. What are these three? Terrorist violence, social media, and stone pelting as a form of protest. Earlier there used to be stone pelting after an encounter was over or after the funerals. But nowadays, while an encounter is on, social media is used to mobilize the crowds, and stone pelters come and engage with the security forces, with the army and police, engaged in an encounter with terrorists to help them to escape. We see anger on the streets at the slightest pretext. Young boys, even girls are now picking up stones against the security forces. I don't want to sound like an alarmist. While bleeding India by 1,000 cuts may be too fanciful, India is too big a country, too strong, too resilient. But in Kashmir, the situation is grim. Are we looking at an all-out public revolt against the state? Is the much talked of fourth stage of insurgency? So what is the way ahead? In 3 decades of violence that we've seen in Kashmir, by a sheer coincidence, it is after 3 decades that we have a strong government at the center, which is not hostage to any coalition. It also happens to be a coalition partner in J&K. The party in power also happens to be a coalition partner in J&K. So while the situation in Kashmir is at its nadir, there is also a strength to deal with it. First of all, I think we need to create a hope in the minds of the Kashmiri. that the state, the country, and the state wants to solve the problem, wants a resolution. And we need to reach out to the youth. An emotional outreach is required because today's youth are the children of midnight knock. In absence of our outreach, the other side, Pakistan, ISI, are extending their outreach to them. And they have filled up the space, the mind space of the youth in Kashmir. And they have filled up their mind space with hatred, with radicalization in the name of religion. We need to act fast. At a national level, we have to deliver strong governance. We do whatever it takes to ensure that development is prosecuted in the state. We could pick up a few doables, even use the outreach of army and the CAPFs and their organizational structure to deliver good governance and development in the state. At a state level, the political parties must regain their space. The political parties and the administration, with due respect to Mr. Darigami, the grassroots cadres are not reaching out. Nobody goes to the villages. The BDO, the Tehsildar, nobody reaches out anymore. This space has been filled up by the Hurriyat, by the separatists and other such organizations. They need to reclaim the space. Army, the army needs to hold a stable LC, the line of control, and in Kashmir, in concert with other security forces, we need to bring down the levels of violence. About engagement and talks, the government has already made has indicated that they are not going to talk to the separatists, fine. But there are so many other organizations, like Justice Paul brought out a little while ago, there are several associations, the NGOs, the civil society, and associations like the Poniwala, the Godiwalas, the Shikarawala. There are traders or trader organizations that could be engaged. And most important, we need to engage with the youth in a meaningful way. Counter-narrative. This is a need as of day before yesterday. The state is not putting out any alternate political counter-narrative. In the absence of a narrative, it is the narrative from the other side that runs. The only way of fighting this is to replace misinformation with information. We need to outsource this job of perception management maybe to professionals, and a strong counter-narrative is the need of the hour. We have to control the fund flow. The recent developments that the NIA's raid to control the fund flow in J&K is a very welcome step. As I mentioned this morning, in 1920s, if Russian money had not come to China, maybe they would not have been sitting on this communist dispensation. What I'm trying to say is that fund flow is everything. If the government can go after big names, surely they can do this here, and a beginning seems to have been made. As far as Pakistan is concerned, we need to bring to bear or employ all the tools, diplomatic, economic, but I'll only talk about the military. As far as military is concerned, we have to have very unpredictable and strong responses against the Pakistan military. After we did the surgical strikes last year, there is that uncertainty in the mind of the Pakistan military on the line of control and beyond. They're not sure. They're not sure what comes next. The only way is to inflict a humiliation on the Pakistan military. And that will undermine their position in their country. Before I end, I want to talk about AFSPA. It's not really connected to the sequence of my talk, but to speak about the Armed Forces Special Powers Act, I just want to dispel some notions. Whenever it's fashionable to talk on chat shows, I'm not going to defend cliches that one hears like draconian and license to kill. They are too filmy. There is nothing draconian about the law. It has total 7 provisions. 3 of them are either defining it or telling us how it can be abrogated. There are only 4 provisions that are operative. One says you can search any premises and seize any objectionable material without a search warrant. Obviously, in those mountains and jungles, there is no district magistrate, there is no civil population. It's an enabling provision to allow you to search. You can also arrest somebody, but the armed forces can, but you have to hand over the person to the police within 24 hours. An armed forces personnel in line of duty is empowered to open fire to protect or to prevent loss of life and property. And the last one, which is the only objectionable one, it says to prosecute someone who did some of these things in line of duty, you require a government sanction. And that's all. There is nothing draconian about it. There have been several cases where government sanction has been given, offenders have been prosecuted. And on the other hand, the army, our legal procedures, as Justice Paul will also bear out, are much faster than the civil. And we've punished several offenders. We've given very harsh punishments. The last case being of 6 of them got life imprisonment, including 2 officers, just a couple of years ago when I was a co-commander. So, ladies and gentlemen, AFSPA is just an enabling provision. We need it. And I am really not concerned, I'm not worried. AFSPA is there to stay. The government will not remove it. My only concern is, sometimes one hears that AFSPA should be applied selectively. Now, that is something that should not be done. We have a failed model of Imphal to learn from. In the northeast, in Imphal town, AFSPA is not applicable. All around it, AFSPA is applicable. So the terrorists operate outside by the day and come and sleep in Imphal by the night. That is something that we have to take care of. For some political mileage, we don't. For some political mileage, we should not have selective application of AFSPA. So keep your army enabled, and army will be able to quell the violence at any time on call. However, next time around when we do it, we should have a plan in place as to how we want to carry the process forward. Thank you.
Thank you, General Dua, for an excellent presentation. That was really brilliant. And it put a clear perspective on things actually as they stand on ground. Now, we're running very much behind time, but I'm still going to take a few minutes to take my pound of flesh. So I'd like to put across certain thoughts across to you, which in many cases, my comrades on the rostrum here have not been able to put across. I'm a blunt soldier, you will forgive me if I step on some toes, but I'll be very blunt. Since the problem started in Jammu and Kashmir in 88-89, the armed forces and security forces managed to clear up things by 95. We had a window of opportunity from 96 to 98. We did nothing. It's not a military problem, it's a political problem. Political activities should have gone into place in full force. That was the first opportunity missed. Second opportunity, in the middle of Kargil, I landed up over there in Kashmir. mid-99. We had to pull out troops, rush troops out of Kashmir to Ladakh, to Kargil, to Dras, to Mushko, and all the other areas, Tiger Hill and so on and so forth. So we literally thinned out the LOC. We had 3,000 terrorists who poured in from POK. So we had Kargil on one side going on, and on the other side 3,000 terrorists, of which 90% were foreigners on our hands. So I was there for 2.5 years. In about a year, we cleared up 2,000 of them, sent them upstairs. But we again presented the government an opportunity by 2002. Talks were started with Musharraf and other issues, but then things failed again. A lot of committees were formed to interact with the locals from the period from 2003 onwards. A lot of promises were made, a lot of useful inputs taken, reports submitted to the government, filed, forgotten. Fault lies in Delhi, I am afraid. I say that point blank. It's irrespective of whether it was an NDA government or a UPA government, equally bad. You come on further. Part of Pakistan's strategy throughout was learned from Afghanistan. Bring in jihadism, Wahhabism, Salafism, and do it through a process of indoctrination through the madrasas and through the mosques. Long drawn out process, taking about 20 years, you indoctrinate the youth. That is the youth today that is out against you. You've now got radicalization which is set into Kashmir because we did nothing to stop the radicalization. Kashmirians vanished, radicalization came in. So you find that after people got disillusioned from seeing nothing happening, from 2008 onwards the flare-up started. The flare-up is not 2015, 16, 17. The flare-up started in 2008. Grant of land to the Amarnath Shrine Board. Then 2010, the accidental shooting of some Kashmiri youth. Agitation followed. Stone pelting and all was all going on then. 2013, Afzal Guru executed. Again, agitation, massive flare-up. 2015 was an ideal opportunity. Question is, what went wrong? In fact, the opportunity was so ideal from 2015 onwards. We've never had such an opportunity before, such a strong government at Delhi. What's gone wrong? Again, I'll be blunt. As far as the Kashmiri sees it, the Kashmiri brought in the PDP as their face of the moment. And unfortunately he died, Mehbooba came. It was their face, the face of the Kashmir. BJP, as far as they were concerned, was a Hindutva party. And they considered the PDP to have stabbed them in the back. The Kashmiri considers the PDP to have now stabbed them in the back by allying with the BJP. With the BJP turning to so much of Hindutva today, the word going across the valley is Islam is in danger. That's the honest to God truth. It's something which people in Delhi need to think about and resolve. Because they honestly feel there's trouble. So you've got a combination of three things what has gone wrong. One is fundamentalism has come in. promises, breach promises not fulfilled, and the alliance of PDP. These issues have to be rectified immediately. I am not going to show slides because we don't have the time. I'm just summarizing what everybody is saying. Reasons for a flare-up: political misdeeds, failure to honor promises or recommendations to meet Kashmiri demands, Pakistani interference and support, the Hindutva issue and the PDP-BJP coalition. Secondly, failure to address Wahhabism, madrasas and fundamental indoctrination. Inability to handle the Hurriyat and their support to terrorists. The funds clamped down was way back in 2001, 2002. Then talks started. So immediately, all cases that were registered against Hurriyat leaders, I myself had Gilani arrested and put behind bars. As also the others. Process is being repeated now again. So you've got to deal with the Hurriyat. You've got to deal with the problem of the Pandits. You can't leave them out in the blue. We are unable to rein in Pakistani support. Let us ask ourselves why. The why is plain and simple. India has neither had the political or military will to deter Pakistan. We lack deterrence, both in terms of wherewithal and the will. Fine, you do a surgical strike, but you try to do something more. You must have the wherewithal to back it up. That is where deterrence comes. And Pakistan knows that. So it will carry on, unless you build up the deterrence. The demographic analysis as to who you have to deal with. Who is the Kashmiri? Dealing with fundamentalism. A lot of people are talking about, do away with Article 370. You'll have so much bloodshed you won't know how to handle it. Similarly, people are talking about change the demographic. People won't know how to handle it again. I've listed out a few points which, in my view, my personal view, need to be done. Short term, impose president's rule and bring in a competent governor with advisors, competent advisors. Clamp down on the extremists, evolve a surrender policy. You don't have a worthwhile surrender policy in the valley. De-recognize the Hurriyat and stop and block their funding. Block all Hawala transactions. Stop funding to the mosques and madrasas. Block all extremist TV, radio and print media. Monitor social media closely. Commence anti-Pak and extremist propaganda, anti-propaganda, and commence a government-sponsored psychological campaign that will include the aspect of dealing with the cyber aspects. Ensure governments control schools and colleges and moderate private schools are fully functional. Monitor the teaching to exclude extremist propaganda and review the syllabus. Monitor preaching and arrest those who are extremist. Evolve a policy for dealing with the youth. Improve intelligence and launch only small-scale operations, with, if possible, the police leading and the army backing. Fight the case for the support of the Armed Forces Special Powers Act. You can't expect a Jawan who's killed somebody over in the valley to have a case registered against him for the whole of his life, because that is how long it takes for cases to come up for hearing. Immediately improve the strike capability, war preparedness and our deterrence capability. Long term, commence the process of re-indoctrination of the people. Revamp your education system. Ensure only moderate mullahs are permitted. Tone down the Hindutva rhetoric and anti-minority activities all over the country. What is happening in UP or other parts also reflects in Kashmir, I assure you. ensure development momentum, bring back tourism as the main livelihood, improve the strike capability and ensure war preparedness and deterrence. Our current deterrence capability is negligible, hence Pakistan's proxy war. Make our foreign policy aggressively supportive of our actions. Resolve the Kashmiri Pandits issue. Try and restore Article 370. If you can talk about so much for Nagaland and the Nagas, surely you can do the same in Kashmir to try and resolve the problem. And whether you like it or not, you will have to talk to Pakistan at some stage. You're going to have to talk to all stakeholders. Because without talks, you cannot find a political solution. Over 40 proposals have been made in the past of different options. Work out a probable option and go for it. Don't let anything come in the way. Thank you very much. Now, we'll take only a very short period for discussion of these aspects amongst the panel before we throw it open to questions. Mr. Tarigami, I have your views on the points I've covered. Particularly what's happened in the last few years.
Thank you very much, giving me one more opportunity to talk to my friends here. As rightly mentioned, there were many opportunities to deal with the situation, to settle the issues. But unfortunately, we have often missed those opportunities, and the result has been compounding crisis which we face today in Kashmir. And I will just remind you that it's only in 2014 that the huge percentage of elections were there. It is over 65% participation in the democratic process. Now, in 2017 parliamentary elections in Srinagar, we have only 7% for us. And now, as far as Anantnag is concerned, Anantnag parliamentary constituency, the southern part of Kashmir is concerned, it is full of anger. And all of us know what went wrong from 14 to 16. Why this young man getting so much disillusioned? Why such hopelessness grips the minds of our youngsters that they are picking up something against the state, against and putting us in a disorder which is unmanageable for the time being? What happened? The same generation, the same group of youngsters were enthusiastic enough to put us in the assembly, to put us in the power. While as now the same youth is reluctant to see our face. Something has gone wrong. You rightly put it, that certain promises were made, and first this alliance of PDP and BJP has created something, a volatile situation which has been unacceptable to the people of Kashmir, which has been virtually going against the tide. That has resulted in some sort of anger that has generated huge anger among the youth, and which has resulted in massive protests, of course with some little violence as well. Now, how to break this cycle of violence? That's the question with us, before us. My humble submission will be that seeking solutions from such a problem needs a a patient exercise, listening to the woes and wants of the people, coming to their rescue, that is the basic. And when we talk of resolving the issue, you can't resolve it as my very dear friend General Dua has said, that you can't outsource everything to army. You can't overburden army with certain things which have to be managed by the political class of the country or the state. We have to share the responsibility. The nature of the crisis has been essentially political, and it needs a political approach. It is not as late as Vajpayee Sahab has once said. We have not to travel to the beaten tracks. We have to look at things afresh. An application of force, or rather disproportionate response to the situation, has created more problems. While fighting militancy, while fighting infiltration and all that, taking care of the national unity, we have to take care of how best we can put a counter narrative to influence the minds of the people of Kashmir so that the anger gets reduced, so that alienation is reduced to a manageable level. What we are facing today is there is huge alienation. People are virtually full of anger against the Indian state itself. We must understand that. And it's not just a small group of people, it is unprecedented in nature. We have seen our Army General, General Mukherjee, has faced a full-fledged insurgency in Kashmir. General Chaudhary has seen it, others have witnessed it, all of us have suffered. But today's protest is qualitatively a higher phase of the crisis, higher phase. Massive involvement of the younger generation, even in a defiance mood. Now, earlier, when there were encounters conducted by the security forces, they were, if not supported by the locals, but certainly there was no obstruction as well. But as of today, whenever and wherever the encounter takes place, huge crowds of youngsters, young people, both men and women, they are coming forward to stop the encounter. Now you see the qualitative shift in the situation. So my point is, before it is too late, see what is happening around the world. There are jihadi influences working. And now in Kashmir, earlier there was about this alienation. Some people wanted, most of the people wanted this separation or secession. Some people for independence, some for autonomy or whatever you call it, some for joining Pakistan. But now there is another tendency emerging. The tendency, though small, though not visible, but horrible, that is working for Ummah, working for something like other things which are happening around the world. That's more dangerous. The positions are getting harder. And my worry is, if the positions, if the response from the Indian state gets equally harder, will it help us to resolve the issue? What needs to be done is to learn from the experiences and come forward with a political plan to resolve this vexed issue through talks and through dialogue. Thank you very much.
2 minutes each for each speaker, and then we'll close.
I just want to ask a question to Mr. Zafar. I think you said, did I get you right? You said the J&K government is the most unempowered government, and please let it be empowered as the other states. I don't think it's unempowered government.
Perception at this point in time Mahbooba Mufti does not appear to be someone who is ruling the state of Jammu and Kashmir. It looks like that she is Chief Minister, she is sitting in the office, but most of the processes are conducted directly from New Delhi. So that's what the principal worry is. You see, something which I mentioned in the morning also, that some amount of respect and some amount of importance to the government of Jammu and Kashmir as you would give it to some other place. A very couple of quick things. That People's Democratic Party was initially seen as a semi-separatist party, and it's a complete, ideological rivalry between PDP and the BJP. No one would have actually imagined that these two parties could come together and form a coalition. And the BJP is a very large pan-India party. But if PDP makes some kind of ideological mistake, that gets completely decimated in Kashmir. They went ahead, they made a coalition with BJP. And when Prime Minister came to Kashmir later the same year, so look at the agenda of alliance. It's clearly agreed upon that they are going to have talks with different sections of people, including, as I said earlier also, that I am not mentioning, that I am not suggesting that let there be a dialogue with the Hurriyat conference. That is something the BJP has agreed with the PDP, and that's written in the agenda of alliance, that we'll talk to the Hurriyat and we'll talk to Pakistan as well. But when Prime Minister comes to Kashmir and the Chief Minister in front of a gathering of around 20,000 people makes a mention that you carries the mandate of whole India, and you need to take forward your word and dialogue on Kashmir. And the Prime Minister says that on Kashmir I don't need anyone's analysis and advice. The Chief Minister gets publicly humiliated. So it's the government of Jammu and Kashmir and affairs of Kashmir appears to be completely bypassed by the government of India. So that importance of the government of Jammu and Kashmir has to be restored. One very quick example is that some 12-13 years ago, when Vajpayee government, Professor Radhakumar would tell us much better about that, this cross-LOC linkages, the trade and travel, etc., the opening of line of control. These were the ideas floated by, intellectuals and experts such as Professor Radhakumar and lot many other people long ago. But it was agreed through the back channel dialogues between India and Pakistan, and Vajpayee's government, the breakthrough happened. Before making this idea public, Vajpayee shared this idea with Mufti Saeed, who was the Chief Minister at that point in time, that what do you think of this line of control is open for travel between, bus service between Srinagar and Muzaffarabad, that's, the capital of POK. Mufti went back and he, painted the whole Kashmir green, that's distance between Srinagar and Muzaffarabad is this. When the road was opened, that was the first ever change in the status quo since 1947. And the perception that went in the Kashmir is that the Kashmiri leader, the legitimately elected Kashmiri leader, actually contributed in getting this change happen by his efforts with Delhi and further, Delhi engaged in efforts with Islamabad. So that kind of importance has to be given to the government of Jammu and Kashmir so that they are seen in power and they are seen engaging in the political process of Kashmir.
Thank you, Mr. Chaudhary.
Very quick point. You cannot have a situation in which you have only a military policy. And for the past 3 years, as far as the Kashmir Valley is concerned, that's all we have seen, that there is a military policy alone. Now, obviously we need the military, they have to be there, you have a terrorism situation, there's no question. But the military can only be effective long term if you have a political and strategic policy in which military action is one part, one factor, one element. That element of the political policy, the element of the strategic policy are entirely missing, and this is driving the valley further and further away from the Indian Union. And that is a crisis that affects all of us and is a matter of national interest for all of us. we also see a situation in which there is daily abuse of Kashmiris on our electronic media, not to mention on our social media. When you have a situation in which 10-year-old boys are called treasonous and ruling party spokespeople say that they should be tried for treason, which is of course perhaps the highest criminal offense of any sovereign state, you have an ugliness and a brutality towards people which rules out any possibility of reform, any possibility of winning hearts and minds. And that is the situation in which we are today. Now, I won't go into all the other problems that we have in our country, but let me say that if I'm here today, it is in the belief that people like us have to speak out. And we have to try to bring back that liberal heart of our country that is being eroded.
Well, we are running short of time. Very, very brief points. We are about Kashmir reactive. We need to be active. Number two, we need nuanced and integrated strategy as far as Kashmir is concerned. Number three, we must help restore Kashmir, to all the people of Kashmir. Please understand, as a Kashmiri I can tell you, Kashmir, Muslim, Hindu, no matter what, has been hijacked by non-Kashmiri fundamentalist Islam, which has come from outside. Handle Pakistan strategically and smartly. Let us admit, at all possible levels, we have been outsmarted by Pakistan. And number five, think of long-term, not short-term political gains. And finally, create an atmosphere of hope, especially for the young. Thank you.
Well, on behalf of all of us in the panel here, thank you very much for giving us a patient hearing. Over to you, Arun.
By my watch, I've already eaten into your drinking as well as dinner time by 2 minutes. This was supposed to be the question hour. And with this August gathering, the cerebral and the intellectual content that I see, I'm sure you have a lot of views to give. But as time is short, I would request you, you've all got a small booklet. There are email addresses given there. You may send your views to the same email address, and I assure you it will reach the right quarters, provided the council here or the speakers feel that it is worthwhile setting up, and it will go straight there. However, are there anybody who's got a question? Is the question not a view? Yes. Mr. Ashok Dhar put up his hand first. May I ask him? Quickly, question.
I have just returned from Kashmir today in the afternoon.
Please tell me who
I'm telling you, one thing I found none of the panelists mentioned. Everything is not grim. 14 children Kashmiris have qualified for IAS.
Yes.
One of them in top 10.
Yes.
I do not know how many from West Bengal have qualified this year.
None.
Sorry, I didn't want you to say that, but I'm saying that the problem is that public perception is driven by a committed minority. I spent 10 days in Kashmir. The radical Islam may be there. Moderate, composite culture is dormant, not dead. My question is to Justice Paul and to Mr. Yusuf Tarigani. Incidentally, he is a politician who has a very clean reputation. That's why probably his resume also page is clean.
No, it was my mistake. Okay.
Yusuf bhai, hey. Be maaf, huh? हाँ ठीक से यूसुफ भाई आपने बताया you said 77 was a free and fair election because we are looking at the way forward and we are looking at the alienation. My question to you is, I was present in Lal Chowk when Sheikh Sahab actually took over in 75. 75 to 82, Sheikh Sahab was the Chief Minister. As per Indira Sheikh Accord, 53 laws were to be reviewed. Sir, with due apologies to you and to Justice Paul, tell me why did Sheikh Abdullah not take any step from 75 to 82? Two committees were appointed. Justice D.D. Thakur, father of former Chief Justice T.S. Thakur, and co-chair. Justice T.S. Thakur gave a report. The file went to Sheikh Sahab. Where is that file? Why don't you people take out that file and tell Kashmiris what was written by Sheikh Sahab? The problem is there. So can you tell me if you agree that the problem today in your constituency itself, when General Mukherjee handled rebellion, it was in North Kashmir. Today it is South Kashmir. That time you had uneducated people going across the border. Today I met educated young men Kashmiris studied in Pune, Mumbai, Bangalore and Delhi who have gone to start up units in Kashmir, have cash flow problems for last 1 year. They are getting alienated. Where are you creating a constituency? And with the rhetoric that you mentioned on the national TV, how do you see this happening? But my pointed question is on Article 370 and to what did the Sheikh Muhammad Abdullah, who was the tallest leader of Kashmir for 60 years, do? Leave apart questions for Kashmiri Pandits. Kashmiri Pandits have been driven out of Valley 7 times in our history, since Sikandar 15th century. So we'll find a way to go back. But what do you actually do, you mainstream politicians? You talked about governance of central government. Governance is not there in Kashmir, sir. Those children are alienated because they are saying employment is given on favor basis. There is not meritocracy and transparency. That is also lack of governance. Floods have come in 2014. General Dua mentioned the good water by Army.
Thank you, Ashok.
I'm just
Dr.
last point I want to say. You don't have a chairman of river authority since 2015. What has central government to do with it?
All right.
Sorry, I've taken
all right, just a second. Mr. Tariqa, Paul, you don't have to answer this question at the moment. You can write back to Mr. Ashok. I'll give you his email. You want to? Please go ahead then. Just keep it just half a minute, please.
It will be a little longer than the question.
Just
That
half a
of
minute.
course
No, don't make it larger than the question.
Yes.
Just a second, please. Let him answer.
My friend that you have returned from Kashmir just today, that's true, but I have been there for a longer period now. And it's not that we are neglecting the constituencies. You might not be remembering only a few days before. I never wanted to mention it. I visited my constituency, met people there, and in the evening my house was attacked by the military.
Thank you.
But no, it's not enough. What Sheikh Abdullah did, what he did not. It's not the question, it's not within the domain of the state government. Essentially, we are not blaming government of India. That does not suggest we are just making the government of India exclusively responsible for whatever has happened there. You see, this is the question of the area of the responsibility. The government of India, there was an agreement. In 52, there was an agreement. In 74. And essentially, the clauses of the constitution which have been eroded are the laws applied to the state of Jammu and Kashmir arbitrarily were to be examined by both Government of India and Government of Jammu and Kashmir, which did not happen. But even then the elections were held and Sheikh Abdullah got. I am not just telling you, informing you about what Sheikh Abdullah did or what he did not. My point was there were opportunities which were missed. And I hope, without taking or making excuses or blame, entering into blame game, the fact remains that Kashmir is remain alienated today because of the wrongs committed by Delhi and Srinagar by successive governments, and today's dispensation at Delhi is compounded the crisis more vigorously that needs to be halted by the people of India themselves. Thank you.
Okay, as I said once again, it's the second last question. There is one person before you. One person before you, please. Okay, just start query.
Outside the line of control, government of Pakistan is having an autonomous government for quite a few years, and they have elected government also, and they are not sure whether any aggression from Russia or China can be stopped by Rawalpindi. But time being, they have accepted Rawalpindi and Islamabad as their headquarters. They gave lot of hints to India that this Chinese-Pakistan corridors are going through the Pakistan, India should get involved. But India did not agree. I think India has missed the bus. There is a autonomous government in Azad Kashmir also. Only 5,000 square kilometers area there, but they are also having a government. Why Jammu and Kashmir is not having an autonomous government? Why there is election? Some people are boycotting the election and they are creating problems. Is the election fair or not? I say we should come to a decision. As Jane actually said,
Sir, thank you, sir. We have noted this. We have noted this.
President's rule should be there, but declare Jammu and Kashmir autonomous so that the state government will have the right to govern and the law and order is their responsibility.
Thank you very much, sir. Please sit down. We've got noted your point. Short question or a viewpoint? The last question of the evening.
I am Ramesh sir, I am Kashmir Pandit. My question is to Mr. Tarigan. In the beginning, General Shankarai Chaudhary said that the response of the people at the death of Burhan Wani and the death of the lieutenant was different. You also said that it is the responsibility of Kashmiri Muslims to get back Kashmiri Pandits to the valley. So, you have got a lot of opportunities, windows along these years. So what is the difficulty with the politicians? Because individuals cannot come forward. It is the duty of the politicians to mobilize people for this. What is the difficulty with these politicians? Thank you.
Quickly, I will respond to this. You see, the first thing is that Kashmiri Pandits have left their government. I left in '89. I was one among those. You see, the question of their return with dignity, with security, they have not gone outside the valley for the purpose of picnic. It's a sad tragedy. And unless the situation improves to the satisfaction of the community itself, where they feel safe and secure, then only we can persuade them, or we can persuade the overall power structure that this project has to be undertaken by the people. So my concern is, you see, in the final analysis, return of Kashmiri Pandits will not be a favor to Kashmiri Pandits, it will be a favor to the Kashmiri past itself. And that's why I make this point that it's the duty of every sane element in Kashmir to work for normalcy, to work for peace, so that there is enough atmosphere created for the return of Kashmiri migrants or Kashmiri Pandits to their home and heart with dignity and security.
Thank you very much, Mr. Raigani. I think we will just close the session over here. Please. We already
No, just pointed, very short question I have. Out of the so many.
To whom?
To the entire panel or whoever is
Okay.
so many problems we have had. Problem of job, problem of hope, problem of military, problem of terrorists, problem of naval, so many problems. But if you just arrange these problems, arrange them in order of priorities, which one will be the first problem, or most important problem, or the most fundamental problem? In Bengali, we say, Sonar Pathar Bati, golden marble pot, which is impossible thing. Okay, Sonar Pathar Bati, golden marble pot, which is impossible. Just like that, Kashmir problem is a luxury problem. We want to keep it alive another 100 years. There are benefits to many various stakeholders. That is why it is continuing. Okay, India has a might. Kargil is a proof. There are many other proofs. Can be solved militarily, at least large part of it. But that is not the thing. If you arrange these sub-problems in order, which one is the fundamental problem? To me, the fundamental problem is you cannot integrate in isolation. You want isolation and integration both simultaneously. Sonar Pathar, golden marble pot. You just cannot actually.
Thank you very much.
You have made the problem intractable deliberately. Remove Article 370, integration is immediate. Political problem, this problem, that problem, all are secondary problems. It is my submission. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't think this is a viewpoint he has given. We will consider it. Is Karan Bhatia coming on to the stage? All right. He's not. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to finish here. I'll just finish with one sentence. I mean, taking off from this Sonar Pathar Bati, isolation and integration. We have two faces. One is across the LSC and one is behind us in Kashmir Valley. Remember something. As and when we decide to talk to Pakistan, it has to be from a position of very strong strength. That is, we must dominate the LOC totally. Second thing that we need to do, which all have brought out in some manner or the other, is that our constituency, our constitution, who is Kashmiris, they must be behind us fully also when we talk to them. And the battle is won. Thank you very much.